Scorpio, there's a moment coming in your life when you'll desperately need these words. It could be in 3 weeks, it could be in 6 months, but it will come. A moment when everything will seem lost, when the darkness will be so thick you can't see any way out. A moment when you'll question whether it's worth continuing, whether you have the strength for one more battle, whether you can survive one more transformation. And when that moment comes, and it will because you're a Scorpio, and profound transformations are part of your existence, you'll need to come back here. You'll need these words like a castaway needs a plank in the middle of the ocean. Right now, as you listen to me, you may still be relatively well. Perhaps you're in a period of calm, of relative stability, or perhaps you're already feeling the first ripples of what's to come. Either way, you need to save this message now, while you still have the clarity of mind to recognize its importance. Because when the dark moment arrives, and it always arrives for Scorpio, not as punishment, but as a necessary process of death and rebirth, you won't be in a position to seek help. You'll be so deep in the abyss that you won't even remember there's light somewhere. This isn't a typical message about zodiac signs. It's not a prediction about what might happen or generic advice on how to deal with difficult situations. This is a message of survival, a letter written specifically for your future self, the one who will be at rock bottom, convinced that this time there's no turning back, that you've finally reached the limit of your strength. This message was made for that specific moment, when you're so broken you can barely breathe, when the pain is so intense that the only thing you want is for it to stop, no matter what. I know you might be thinking, that won't happen to me, or I've been through worse and survived. But Scorpio, you know your own nature better than anyone. You know that you live in extremes, that you feel everything with an intensity that frightens others. You know that when you enter a process of transformation, it's not gradual or gentle. It's a total destruction followed by a painful rebirth. And you know that there's a dark part of you inside that sometimes whispers that it would be easier to just give up, to just stop fighting, to just surrender to the darkness once and for all. This message exists for that moment, for when that dark voice is louder than your will to live. For when you look in the mirror and no longer recognize the person staring back, because the pain has transformed you into something you never wanted to be. For when you wonder if there's still anything of you beneath all the layers of accumulated wounds. The specific moment I'm talking about can be triggered by a variety of things. It could be a betrayal from someone you trusted completely, someone to whom you opened your rare and protected heart, only to find that your vulnerabilities were used against you. It could be a devastating loss that shakes your entire emotional structure, forcing you to confront aspects of existence you weren't ready to face. It could be a moment when all your protective mechanisms fail simultaneously, and you find yourself exposed, wounded, stripped of your usual armor. Or it could simply be the buildup, years of harboring silent pain, carrying burdens no one sees, going through transformations that tear you apart each time. Until one day, something relatively small happens and is the final straw that makes you crumble completely. Not because you're weak, never say you're weak, Scorpio, but because even the strongest have limits, and you've been testing those limits for a long time. When that moment arrives, you'll feel it physically. It'll be like something has ruptured inside your chest. A pain that's not just emotional, but visceral, that doubles you over, that takes your breath away, that makes you understand for the first time why people talk about heartbreak as if it were a real physical condition. You'll feel like you're being destroyed from the inside out, as if every cell in your body is screaming in agony. And in your head will be that dangerous thought, the one you never admit to anyone: I can't take it anymore. Not as a casual complaint, but as a frightening realization, like a stark truth that paralyzes you. You'll look at the road ahead and see only more pain, more battles, more transformations that will tear you apart. And you'll honestly ask yourself if it's worth it, if it wouldn't be better to just stop. It's precisely at this moment, when you're on that inner precipice, on that edge between continuing and giving up, that you need to return to this message. You need to hear these words I'm recording now, while you're still whole enough to recognize their truth. Scorpio, in the future moment where you're listening to this completely shattered, I know where you are. I know it feels like there's no way out, that this time the darkness has finally won, that you finally encountered the pain that's too great even for you to survive. I know you're tired of being strong, tired of transforming, tired of dying and being reborn over and over. I know you just want peace, and you're considering whether the only way to find peace is to cease existing altogether. But I need you to hear this, even through the haze of pain that's clouding everything. You've been here before, not exactly here, not with this specific pain, but in places just as dark, and you survived. Every time you were sure it was the end, every time you swore you had no strength left, every time the transformation seemed to finally destroy you, you emerged on the other side. Different, yes. Scarred, yes. But alive. And not just alive, but eventually stronger, deeper, more authentic than before. Scorpio, if you're listening to me in the present moment, before the crisis hits, I need you to do something important right now. I need you to acknowledge that you know this darkness I'm talking about, that you've been to places within yourself that are scary, that you've faced inner demons that would make others give up instantly. And if you're listening to me from the future, from that dark moment where every word I say resonates with a sharp pain because it describes exactly what you're feeling, I need you to recognize that you're not alone in this abyss, that other Scorpios have been where you are now and found their way back. Leave a comment now saying, I know this darkness, and I am choosing to step back into the light. Moo. It doesn't matter if you're writing this from the present as a promise or from the future as a desperate act of faith. Write it down, because when you put it into words, when you say it out loud, even if it's typed, you're activating something deep within yourself. You're reminding your soul of your own resilience, and you're creating a chain of strength with other Scorpios who are going through or have gone through the same thing. Your courage in acknowledging the darkness without surrendering to it may save not only you, but someone who will read your comment exactly when they need a reminder that it is possible to survive the impossible. This is the truth you need to engrave deep within yourself. The intensity with which you feel pain is exactly the same intensity with which you are capable of feeling joy, love, ecstasy, and profound connection. You can't turn off one without turning off the other. Your ability to plunge into the abyss is inseparable from your ability to reach heights others can't even imagine. I know that in that dark moment, you'll think, I'd trade this ability to feel deeply for a little superficial peace. You'll envy people who seem to live simple lives with average emotions without these extreme plunges into darkness. But Scorpio, deep down, you know you wouldn't trade it, because living superficially would be death for you. You'd rather feel everything, even unbearable pain, than feel nothing. What's happening in that moment of crisis isn't the end, it's the middle. It's the darkest part of the transformation process, the part where you're completely broken but haven't yet begun rebuilding. It's the space between who you were and who you're becoming. And that space is empty, scary, and lonely. It's normal for it to feel unbearable, because you're literally dying to one version of yourself while not yet being born to the next. I need you to understand something fundamental. The symbolic death you're going through is necessary. You can't carry into the next phase of your life the same structures, beliefs, and patterns that brought you here. Something inside you needs to die so that something new can be born. And death, even symbolic, hurts. It hurts in ways that non-Scorpios can't comprehend. When you're in that moment, you'll feel the urge to rush the process, to force a resolution, to find a quick way out, to make the pain stop at any cost. But I need you to resist that urge. I need you to allow the transformation to happen at its own pace, even if it's slower than you'd like. Forcing the birth prematurely can kill both the new version and the old. Breathe. Even when it seems impossible, breathe. One breath at a time. You don't need to know how you'll survive the next month, the next week. You just need to survive the next 5 minutes, and then the next 5, and then the next 5, until eventually, without you realizing exactly when, the 5 minutes will get easier. The pain will still be there, but it will become bearable, and you will realize you're still alive, still breathing, still here. The hardest part of being a Scorpio isn't the intensity of your emotions, it's the loneliness. It's going through these profound transformations in places inside you that no one else can access. It's not being able to explain to the people around you what's really happening, because they simply don't have the frame of reference to understand. It's smiling and saying, "I'm fine," when inside you're falling apart, because you've learned that your darkness scares people. But in that moment of crisis, when you're at the bottom of the abyss, I need you to remember there are other Scorpios who know exactly where you are, who have been in that impossible place and made it out. You're not as alone as you seem. Your experience is unique, but the process is universal for those who carry the Scorpio energy of constant transformation. And there's something else I need to tell you. What's breaking you now will become your greatest source of power later. I know it seems impossible to imagine this in the midst of the pain, but the wound that seems to destroy you today will become the scar that makes you invincible. The darkness that threatens to consume you today will become the depth that allows you to understand things superficial people will never reach. Each time you go through one of these death and rebirth processes, you don't return to your former self. You emerge transformed into something more powerful, more conscious, more authentic. The false layers of yourself are peeled away one by one until eventually only your pure, unbreakable essence remains. Scorpio, when you're in that impossible moment, do one thing for me. Look back on your life. See all the times you survived what seemed impossible, all the losses you thought would destroy you but didn't, all the betrayals you swore would break you, but you emerged stronger, all the transformations that tore you apart but made you who you are today. Your survival record is impeccable. You have a 100% success rate in getting through impossible days, in surviving nights that seemed endless, in finding light where all was darkness. Your resilience is enviable. So why should this time be any different? Why would this particular pain be the one that finally overcomes you when no other could? The truth is, it won't. You'll survive this too. Not because it's easy, it's never easy. Not because you have all the answers, you rarely do. But because there's something inside you that's fundamentally unbreakable, something that can be wounded, can be transformed, can be temporarily obscured, but never completely destroyed. When you're considering giving up, remember, Scorpio doesn't give up. Scorpio dies and is reborn, dies and is reborn, over and over again. It's different. To give up is to stop. To be reborn is to continue in a new form, and you were made to be reborn, not to stop. I know you're tired of transformations. I know you wish you could just be happy without having to constantly go through these intense processes of destruction and reconstruction. I know you look at people of other signs and envy their lightness, their easy superficiality, their ability to not feel everything so deeply, but that's not who you are. And trying to be anything else only causes you more suffering. You are a Scorpio. You were made to dive to depths others don't even know exist, to survive transformations others wouldn't, to carry intensities that would break more fragile people. This isn't a curse, it's your power, even when it seems otherwise. At the moment when all seems lost, when the darkness is at its deepest, when you're most broken, that's exactly where the turning point lies. Right at the bottom of the abyss is where the climb begins. You just have to hold on a little longer, just a little longer, just until the first light appears. And it always does, Scorpio. Always. Save this message. Stick it on your phone, write it down, engrave it in your memory, because when that moment comes, and you'll know when it does because there's no mistaking it, you'll need these words as a reminder that you've been through this before and survived, that others have been through it and survived, that you are made of the toughest stuff in the zodiac. Your darkness is not your weakness, it's your strength. Your ability to feel so deeply is not a flaw, it's a gift. Your tendency toward constant transformation is not a curse. It's your continuous evolution into ever more powerful and authentic versions of yourself. And when you finally emerge from this process, and you will look back and see that it was worth it, that you needed that specific pain to access that specific level of growth, that the destruction was necessary for the creation that came after, that you couldn't have become who you are without going through what you went through. Scorpio, this message will be here waiting for you when you need it. Return to it as often as necessary. Use it as an anchor when you're adrift, as a light when you're in the dark, as a reminder that you are unbreakable, even when you feel completely broken. You will survive. You always survive. And this time will be no different. If this message touched you deeply, if you recognized your own darkness and strength in these words, share it in the comments. No need to give specific details. Just acknowledge that you're a Scorpio and that you understand what I'm talking about. Your courage in acknowledging this can empower another Scorpio reading this right now from the depths of the abyss. Subscribe to the channel and save this video because you'll need it. I don't know when, but you will. And when that moment comes, you'll be thankful you saved these words. Turn on notifications because content like this, which speaks directly to the Scorpio soul, which understands their darkness without judgment, which acknowledges their strength without romanticizing it, is rare. And you deserve to have access to it whenever you need it. You are stronger than you know, more resilient than you believe, more powerful than you seem, and you will prove it to yourself once again when the time comes. Save this message. You'll need it.